Alexis is pure evil, the wolf in sheep's clothing. He doesn't give one shit about this little girl finding herself alone in a changing room with a grown man exposing his and calling himself a woman. He is a narcissist and a of the highest order and masquerades as one of the good ones. Hi everyone, my name's Alexis Blake. I am a trans woman and I share my life, stories and opinions on social media. And this week, people don't have a lot of good stuff to say about me from what I've read. So I want to address a few things in this video, if that's okay. We will talk about Marcus's video about me later on. If you haven't seen that video, don't worry, you don't have to go and watch it. I have got some clips from it in this video that I will review and talk about with you. But first, why are we here? What happened? What caused this? So the Supreme Court in the United Kingdom has ruled that women in the Equality Act 2010 refers to biological women only, not trans women. I understand that trans women are also still protected in the Equality Act. I made a TikTok video that went on YouTube Shorts and Instagram, all three platforms at the same time. About that ruling, I got a little bit emotionally charged in that video. I was upset by it. I expressed my opinions in it. This apparently is very different to my usual opinions, but first thing I want to point out that I've been sort of called out for. Apologies for the confusion. The video was removed from YouTube Shorts. There's a few things I do want to address that I say in the video in a moment, but just to clarify on why that was removed, it was removed because of the comments. The video is still very much live and available to watch on Instagram and on my TikTok account, but I removed it off YouTube Shorts because the comments had such a strong anti-trans rhetoric. There was a lot of comments just disagreeing with my opinion, which I can always handle. That's absolutely fine. We're all human beings, we have different opinions, don't we? I get that. But there was a lot of hateful stuff and I didn't want that on the internet. So I took it down. I don't know if this is going to sound a little bit harsh, but I actually have the right to do that. But if you want to watch that video, I'll link it below for the TikTok and Instagram version. A couple of things about the video I want to clear up before we move on to the next thing. I started the video with saying there is a new law. I understand that was incorrect. A lot of people got that error. I was emotional in the moment. I filmed it without doing enough research, evidently, and I said there was a new law when it's just a clarification of a law. One of the things that I've seen a lot of the negative comments stating is that, of course, I want to protect women and girls. Bottom line, that is the most important thing I want to say. And I, as a trans woman, know that I am not a biological woman. I have never once said I am a biological woman. I'm not saying that I am a woman, I will ever become a woman, because I know that's not physically possible. I know my biology is male. I'm biologically a male, but I am a trans woman. Thank you, Kimala, for I know I'm a biological man. I'm a trans woman. I've transitioned, but I know I'm a biological man. I understand that. What I am worried about with this sort of clarification of the law is the repercussions and the after effects of that. That's all I want to say on that. So, Marcus. One thing I want to say now before if anyone loses interest or clicks out of the video. In my comment section, in every video or almost every video I make, I try and say at the end of the video, if you're going to leave a comment, let's just try and keep it as healthy as possible. Let's have a conversation. I always try and say that. I really do. Because the internet can be such a dark place. Whereas I feel like personally, and obviously I'm probably feeling this a little bit more because this video is about me, but in Marcus's video, the section about me, a lot of the comments are really nasty. They're not just disagreeing with my point of view. They're not disagreeing with my opinions. It's just tearing me apart and being really cruel. And that's hard to see for myself. I'm a big girl. I can handle it. I'm tough. But I just wonder what would happen if someone who perhaps wasn't as tough saw all of those comments. That might be really difficult for them. So I think for me personally, I try and create a space where people can have conversation about really important political and social issues, whereas I feel like some other content creators on different apps create spaces for anti-trans rhetoric, and because it's a trans person's face in the video, that allows that rhetoric. And I won't have that. I will have honest conversations. I will call out people who are trans, who are creating a bad representation for the trans community. I will say that I don't think trans women should be in women's sports. I understand there is a lot of real issues that need to have a conversation about, but what I can't stand is blatant anti-trans comments. That's where the line is drawn for me. I can have an open conversation, but when it goes beyond that to pure hatred against a group of people, that's where I draw the line. I hate cancel culture. I always have. I think with celebrities as an example, We've seen it time and time again where people are cancelled for varying degrees of things, some rightly so, some not rightly so, but it's difficult to watch because at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say here is we're just human beings. Like, I know that makes me sound like I'm a celebrity. I'm not a celebrity, obviously, but I'm saying we're all collectively human beings just trying to figure out life, and we all have varying degrees of opinions. And for my one video, one YouTube short, to have a different opinion to some people, I have been literally destroyed in the comments. And I've had videos made about me that aren't as great. I can take it. I make videos about people. I understand that. But the way that things are being said and how things are being said, that's where I'm a little bit frustrated, let's say. We will watch Marcus in a minute. I just want to get all this out now before. After this video, I won't be addressing this again. The next video I post will probably be something like a house tour or a normal everyday video. I just want to say one thing before we react to Marcus fully now, and then we promise we'll look at it. I don't always have opinions that fall on either side of politics, let's say, especially more American politics. Obviously here in the UK, things are a little bit different. But I feel like with trans issues in American politics, you fall one way or the other a lot of the time. I do genuinely fall in the middle, sometimes more one way, sometimes more the other way. I just have opinions. I'm not really a strong political person. I just have my opinions, and that's not always going to align with all of your opinions. And I'm sorry about that, but it's just the nature of being a human being. I hope that people can maybe disagree with me on certain things and maybe move forward with me. If that changes your opinion of me wholeheartedly and you have to unsubscribe and leave my pages behind, I understand that. That's your decision. But I hope that we can have conversation about things, not just cancel Alexis Blake. I'm going to go through some of the comments on Marcus's video after we've responded, because they're not great. Hi, Marcus. Okay, I'm ready.
Alexis is a trans woman on YouTube who, over the past couple of years, has criticized parts of trans ideology and tried to position herself in the middle ground.
Man doesn't have to put on a dress and a wig to go into a woman's space and do something bad. They can do it anyway.
That's true, but the difference now is that men can no longer legally get away with it. Before, creepy men could pretend to be trans women and legally get access to women's spaces. Now, they can't. So what exactly is the problem with that?
The sass. So that little clip of me in the red and white stripy Where's Wally t-shirt, or Where's Waldo, I think some Americans, you guys say. That was a clip that was pulled from my video from Marcus, obviously he's reacting to it. I don't think it's ever been legal for men to dress as women, not dress as women, and go into women's spaces and do bad things. That's never been legal. Going back to my video, what I want to emphasize, and I think what the point was missed or lost, and maybe that's just how I explained it, how I came across, or how I said it. Yes, men could pretend to be trans women and go into women's spaces. That's bad and awful, and I hate that. But now, men don't even have to bother to dress up as trans women because they can just say, I'm a trans man. And they can then go into women's spaces. I'm supposed to use a male toilet now. Trans men like Marcus are supposed to use the female toilet. What's stopping a biological man just saying, I'm a trans guy, and going straight into the female space? That's the point I was trying to put across there, which has been missed, I think, by a lot of people, so I understand that. My error there. Just to clarify, this is here in the UK with the new clarification of the 2010 Equality Act. So, trans women, male toilet. Marcus, if he was here, he would have to use the female toilet. Anyway, next bit.
You make reaction videos on your YouTube channel about these unhinged trans activists. You still affirm them as trans. Remember? You use she/her pronouns for men like Dylan Mulvaney and Lily Tino. By embracing these frauds and validating harmful activists as trans, you have helped blur the lines. And that's exactly what led to this backlash.
First thing I want to address in that little clip there, Marcus. I personally, for me, don't think it's right to decide if someone is or is not trans. Later on in this video, you do question my transness. And I disagree with that because it's not my place. I'm not in someone else's head and I don't know them personally. What I do is call out behaviour that I disagree with, call out opinions that I disagree with. If someone's creating a bad representation for the trans community, I will call it out. So Dylan Mulvaney, Days of Girlhood, I called her out on that. Lily Tino, many videos that Lily Tino makes, I call her out on that. But who am I to sit here and call those people he? It's just unnecessarily catty and disrespectful That's my opinion then. I will firmly stand by that. I will always give my honest opinion that might agree and disagree with a lot of people who's watching this today. For me, it's just about having basic human decency. That's why I choose to do it. But that's just, again, my decision. Next bit.
Before I forget, just a couple of months ago, you called my content brutal.
We have another video from Marcus to react to. Marcus is quite brutal. After seeing some of his videos, I'm sometimes left speechless, so let's watch a little bit of what he has to say.
All I do is make a clear distinction between real transsexuals and the frauds, and that leaves you speechless.
Okay, well, I'm going to pause that because I want to talk about that in a second. I'm not sure if it's been lost in translation in maybe the way that I speak as an English person, but brutal, brutally honest, that's what I was referring to there. You are brutally honest, Marcus. Your YouTube name, Marcus, is obviously the offensive T word. I can't say it because it's a slur and I don't want to say it. So, by your own definition, you are brutal. That's what that means. You're offensive. You say things straight to the point, and that's your opinion, and I respect that. That's how you choose to do your content. It's just different to how I choose to do my content. A few months ago, I saw one of your videos, Marcus, because I do watch some of your content, I'll not lie. And you mentioned that YouTube demonetize your content often. In that video, you were being active to try and avoid that from happening, which I understand. For anyone who doesn't know, demonetization just means you can't earn money from that video because YouTube deems it not suitable for advertisers. That in itself, right there, that you are getting demonetized frequently, Marcus, means you are in fact brutal. It wasn't meant as an offense. I didn't mean it to be an insult. I was just going off what you call yourself on your own channel. Let's move on.
I thought you were a part of the rational transsexual community, the very small community on YouTube, but apparently I was wrong. Not once in your video.
This is the thing that's wild to me as well. So on YouTube, and I know the community that he's talking about, Marcus, Bookangel, Blair White, this community that have all their own opinions, and I watch a lot of these people, of course I do, but my opinions aren't always 100% going to be in line with all of these people all of the time. That's not realistic. That's not being a human being. And I'm not going to filter myself or change myself to always be in line with everyone's opinions, because that's not who I am. People might unfortunately not like that, and I might lose favour from people, and I understand that, but that's not who I am, so I won't be doing that, Marcus. So if you think that I'm not part of that community, okay, that's fine. Cool. I can watch a Blair White video and disagree with 50%, 75% of the things that she's saying. It doesn't mean I hate Blair White or I will unfollow and unsubscribe. It just means we have a difference of opinion. And I feel like that's lost a lot on social media. If someone says one little thing or does something that someone doesn't agree with, they're cancelled immediately. And that's, again, not my cup of tea. Little British reference there.
Not once in your video have you condemned the frauds in our community that the ruling is all about.
I understand some of the trans community haven't helped the situation. Fuel has been added to the fire by them.
This entire mess started when activists pushed the idea that anyone who claims to be a woman is a woman.
Okay, something else I want to say here as well. That the whole sense that I've got, this is obviously only little snips from Marcus's video. The whole sense that I'm getting, he is now branding me one of the outrageous trans activists, and that is absolutely not the case. I still believe you need a diagnosis of gender dysphoria to transition. I still believe that when people say trans, that is a transgender man or transgender woman. I have all the same opinions. There's just one opinion that's a little bit different, and I am being dragged through the mud, figuratively speaking, because of this opinion. Also, Marcus said that not once in my video did I call out the trans people who've caused this. He literally showed the clip of me doing it following that. I literally say, I know trans people have added fuel to the fire. Maybe I could have elaborated more to be clearer, I don't know. I know that trans people haven't helped the situation. Marcus does say that this is all trans people's fault. I think it's a divide, personally. I think it's half people not liking trans people and half the bad trans people creating the bad image. Those combined together has snowballed into this ruling. to continue on the point that Marcus was mentioning about me not calling these bad trans people out that have caused this. For 2 years, I've posted videos on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. A lot of my content has been about those trans people who I feel don't create a good image of what a trans person is, or who doesn't represent me wholeheartedly. People like when Dylan Mulvaney's done certain things, or Lily Tino, when Jeffrey Marsh does things that are controversial, when Josh C2 was on the scene, when all of these people were doing all of these things, I was making content about it, and I will still continue to make that content. I will continue to have my opinions on these issues, and I will continue to make that content from now. That was never going to change. My opinions didn't do a 180. It was just one video. Maybe yes, Marcus, I could have gone into more detail, so thank you for pointing it out, but I'm not perfect. When I filmed that video, I was clearly emotionally charged, which a lot of people have an issue with as well. So I won't be doing that again, but I didn't. I'm not perfect, and I've never claimed to be perfect, and I will never be perfect. I'm just a human. So I'm really sorry for that. Let's move on to the next point.
The idea of you don't need gender dysphoria to be trans. Anyone who claims to be trans is trans. It's not possible for you to know if this whole thing is discrimination against trans women if you can't define what a trans woman is.
Okay, let's just set the record straight right here, because I did feel that was a little bit of a personal attack. So I do know what a trans woman is. I am a trans woman. I'm trying to like not get bitchy, because I don't want to come across like that. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be catty. I don't want to be nasty. But a trans person is someone who is diagnosed with gender dysphoria, and they medically transition to alleviate that gender dysphoria. That might be hormone therapy and surgeries. I understand that. I fall under that. So that did feel a little bit catty at the end, but it's your opinion. Obviously, I can't change that. My final thoughts before we go into some comments, because we have some comments on this video that are pretty, damning about me. I understand that Marcus's content is very direct and very blunt. I'm trying to say words that are not going to offend anyone, and very straight to the point, and I understand that. But from what I gathered watching the whole video, because obviously this is just little snips, I did feel like the narrative of who I am, he's attempted to change it in that video to an outrageous, outspoken, crazy trans person, which is not who I am at all. It was just one video. This is a crazy thing with social media. I don't want to come across like I'm whinging or moaning or anything like that, because I hate it when social media people do that. But there is a lot of negative comments going around about me at the moment on Marcus's video and in the original YouTube short that I made that obviously I pulled down for that reason. It's hard to take in all of that negativity. There's a difference between disagreeing with my opinion and then just being plain nasty and transphobic. And I feel like in this situation that's happening right now, that line has been crossed. It's hard. I'm a person. I'm a person with real feelings. I'll click this camera off in a few minutes. We'll get this video uploaded later on today, but I will go shopping with my mum. I will watch TV with Liam. I will go out for dinner. I'm trying to emphasize that I'm still a person, and I'm not saying it affects me per se, but it's a hard pill to swallow when people are just being vile about you constantly. I also want to say, if this means your journey watching me and following me ends now, I'm sorry, and I wish that was different, but it's your choice to make, obviously. Okay, let's read some of these comments. Never were women other than in their delusions. Never were nor ever can be women. Stop the invasion. I'm being told I'm invading women's spaces there. I've never claimed to be a woman. Ever. Even in that video, I never claimed to be a woman. I know there's a difference, and I've always said that. My fear from that video, the whole thing, if you take anything away from that video, the fear I have for women and the safety of women, how that can be jeopardized by this clarification of the law. Also, the safety of trans people. That's two things I was trying to focus on. Obviously, it didn't come across very well. They've lost nothing. They know they were born men, and they know they will die men. Cool. Okay, I'm gonna live my life how I want in that interim though, and that's fine. This is tough watching you and Alexis Blake fight. I guess if we want to call it that, it's like being best friends with two people that don't like each other and being stuck in the middle. I've never said I didn't like Marcus. I've literally reacted to, I think, one of Marcus's videos, and the only thing that I said was slightly damning was brutal. And like I explained that earlier in the video. So sorry that you feel like we're fighting. I'm not trying to start a war or a fight or a video for video for video. I'm not doing that. I'm probably not going to talk about this again after today. But yeah, people disagree sometimes. I don't know. It's part of being alive. Okay, this next one. Alexis is a very delusional man. I started watching his content a couple of weeks ago, then immediately stopped when I saw him defending Lilitino to a certain extent. Now he's just spiraling. First things first, cool, goodbye. I don't ever want to come across like a sour person, but I don't want that person following me. Why would I? First of all, the thing that they're on about is me defending Lilitino. Everyone's saying that Lilitino didn't have FFS. She did. I disagree with a lot of Lilitino's actions, commentary, social views, political views, but in the before and after, you can see the evidence of FFS, facial feminization surgery. And I understand why people would doubt it, and the surgery maybe was more subtle and soft, but I evaluated it and I explained that in the video that I could see that Lilitino had FFS surgery. Again, it was just my honest opinion. I really want to bring that home. Anyway, the next comment. A lot of people calling me they or he in the comments, which, you know, cool. They should have fought for their own space, trans toilets, trans sport, instead of forcing their way into biological women's spaces. The trans toilet thing, it's a hard one to discuss, but I'm just going to briefly surmise my opinion here. I didn't use the female toilet for a good 6 months until I was presenting as feminine as I physically could. That's just out of respect for women. That's why I did that, and I didn't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable. In my old workplace, I fought to get an inclusive toilet, so not male, not female, one in between where someone could go who's perhaps transitioning or didn't feel comfortable using either of the others. In the UK, we have a lot of restaurants and businesses now opting for gender-neutral toilets. You go into the toilet, you open the door and lock it in your own room. You're not, like, no one can look down, no one can enter, you're in your own space, and that's more of a gender neutral toilet. That's what we're opting for. It's really tough to change the infrastructure of every business, every school, every workplace in the UK to have trans toilets. And also, I think sometimes people forget to have a trans toilet. You are then singling out trans people, which may make them more of a target for discrimination. Just to point that out there. Trans sport, again, I've made this point and my opinion has not shifted in the last 2 years. I personally believe trans women have an advantage against biological women, which is why I don't think trans women should be competing at a professional level against biological women. I've always said that, and that's not changed. Looking just at the photograph of the size of Leah Thomas's muscles, the height, compared to the other women who were competing against it, it's not fair on the biological women because she did have an advantage. My opinion there hasn't shifted. Final thoughts on this. I'm not trying to start a war with anyone. I'm not trying to, like I said, I don't want like a video for video for video, me going for Marcus and Marcus going for me, and maybe you want to have some thoughts back on this, Marcus. I'm not sure. It's obviously your decision. I just wanted to give my opinion because I feel like I've been misinterpreted a lot over the last sort of week and a half in this whole situation, and then especially now this video's come out. Me being spoken about in a way that I think's not true and accurate. Not necessarily just disagreeing with my opinions, just ripping me apart as a human being. I'm not saying that you, Marcus, are responsible for people commenting your video. I know you have no power or control over that. But one thing I do want to say, when we create content and put it online, depending on the narrative of that content, that creates spaces for people to have conversation. I feel like with my content, yes, I get people being transphobic, of course I do, but I feel like it's more of a conversation. Whereas going through the comments on that video, it feels more like a personal attack. And that to me is different. It's not having a valid social conversation about political views and what's really important and going on in the world. It's just tearing a human being down. And I'm not saying, Marcus, you're responsible for that, because I know you're not. But you are creating a space for that. Maybe the way that you present in your videos, maybe the things you say, maybe it's not even what you say, maybe it's how you say it. I understand that being on social media, I'm gonna get criticism, I'm gonna get feedback. Trust me, since I've had my surgery as an example, a lot of people have had a lot of things to say about my face. I know that being on social media, you get unwanted comments, I understand that. What shocked me with this video, it takes a lot to shock me, going through the comments. If I made a video and all of the comments were as such as what's on Marcus's, I would personally think, am I allowing that to happen? What have I done in that video? What have I said? How have I said things to allow that to happen? Yes, disagree with my opinions like I've said, and I understand that. But when the line is blurred from disagreeing with me to just hating on me and being directly transphobic on a trans person's video, which I can never understand, by the way. Like, Marcus is trans, but a lot of transphobic people are commenting anyway. It's a hard pill to swallow. Okay. We've reached the end portion of our video. It was probably a tough watch. It was probably a long watch, and I'm sorry for that. I just wanted to defend myself. Social media can be a dark place. It can be a cruel place. People can tear you apart limb from limb when they disagree with one sentence that you've said. It's the way it is, unfortunately. Thank you, Marcus, for the video. I have taken on board your critiques. I don't agree with a lot of them. I agree with some of them, though, don't get me wrong, but I've taken it on board nonetheless. Maybe if you disagree with me in future, just message me. Maybe we can make a video together and have an actual conversation about our difference of opinions. Anyway, thank you all so much for listening if you're still here. If you are still going to continue to watch me, thank you again. Please do like, subscribe and hit that notification bell. I post 1 to 2 videos every week of me talking about my opinions, shock, horror. And me and Liam have our podcast, The Blake Debate, as well. That's once every week or two. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye. Bye.